I always see the start of every video I make with a little. I don't know why. I don't do it on purpose. But anyway, I just wanted to add to that part. This is like part 3 of the last two videos. With Trump, he's Republican, right? Can't raise taxes, can he? Right? Gave a tax break to all the trillionaires and billionaires, and trillionaire companies all got tax breaks, and billionaire owners got tax breaks, but he can't raise taxes, and on the poor people either. He does, but he can't. I can't have it in the newspaper that Trump raised taxes on the working man, because he's supposed to be for the working man, which is a bunch of crapola. But, he raised tariffs. Tariffs is a tax on the working man. And what did he raise tariffs on? Everything the working man buys. Food, electronics, cars, so pretty much nothing went untouched, Stocks didn't get touched. There was no tariff on stocks, right? The billionaire little toy didn't get touched. So Trump is doing just what Bush did, and that's why Trump is fighting to change the head of the Fed. He wants the interest rates lowered so we can go on Bush Part 2 and start giving out loans to people that don't deserve it, and raising taxes again in the way Bush did, and what I explained in Part 2. So it's a playbook, When you watch a football game, there's usually never a play that basically you haven't seen before. I mean, it's hard to tell what play they're running because it's just so many guys running around the field, and to them it's managed. They know what they're doing, but to an observer, you don't know what they're doing. But they don't run any plays that haven't been played, before. And Republicans are doing the same thing. They're playing the playbook, and they don't give a rat's ass about you, because, I don't know, if you are, great, but I don't think you're a billionaire. But, so it's all crap. And Trump is a whole nightmare in himself. Venezuela. Maduro was good for Venezuela. He kicked out all the drug dealers. The drug dealers came here because Maduro kicked them out. And Maduro kicked out our oil companies, and that was his big mistake. Who was the Secretary of State for Trump in his first administration? The head of Exxon. He was the CEO of Exxon, and then he was Secretary of State for Trump. So that's where that goes, And those boats they blew up in the water, the drug boats, I didn't see one drop of drugs. Those containers could have been gas tanks, because when you're out on the water on a boat like that, you need a lot of gas. You don't want to be stuck out there with no gas. So I didn't see any coke or heroin or anything else. And they blew up those guys floating in the water because they didn't want proof that there were no drugs. They didn't want anybody to say there was no drugs. And since they blew up and sunk the boat, who's going to prove them wrong? So, we're not done with Venezuela. Venezuela is an ongoing project. And Greenland is just an operation to do away with NATO. The only reason he's going to go in or threaten to go into Greenland is to try and break up NATO, because Trump is a Putin puppet, and Putin's number one dream is to get rid of NATO. And he's getting Trump to do it for him, come on, Trump should have I would have killed him, but Trump should have at least arrested Putin when he met him in Anchorage. I wouldn't have let him get on a plane and leave. So, Putin's a war criminal. And he arrested Maduro, but he didn't arrest Putin. Why is that? Because Putin's got pictures of Trump with little girls and little boys. So, Maduro didn't have those pictures. And look, the president of Honduras, he got a pardon. He bought Trump Bitcoin, and all of a sudden he gets a pardon. He was a drug dealer too, right? They didn't care about that. Trump still gave him a pardon, but Maduro ain't getting a pardon because he screwed his oil company buddies. He froze their bank accounts and took all the money from the oil, which was Venezuelan oil, and those Exxon companies had no business taking it, but they were getting it for free, pretty much. So all it cost them was what it cost them to get it out of the ground. And they weren't giving Venezuela anything, and he put a stop to it. So, they have a lot of people talking about Maduro on TV, and they're all Americans. I don't hear any Venezuelans saying Maduro was bad, or we didn't like Maduro. The ones who said they didn't like Maduro were the drug dealers and the people that were bad, the gang members. They didn't like Maduro because Maduro went after them. But, in Cuba's not a bad country or island. They don't play ball with our government, and that's why they're labeled bad. Same with Haiti. Haiti doesn't play ball with us, so they're on the shit list. Unless you do what we say, you're on the shit list. So, and the ones that do what we say, they buy our weapons. They start wars with their neighbors or kill their own people. We love them. And the people that kill their own people, well, they're just having an adjustment. The ones that kill their people that we don't like, they're doing genocide. Same thing going on, different words. It depends if we agree with it or we don't. So, and we don't, when they don't buy our weapons to kill their people, then it's genocide. So, all we care about is selling weapons. And the big reason for Venezuela is because Gaza's gone. Gaza's not fighting anymore. There's really no weapons going on over there. So the manufacturers of bombs and all the war machine have to find someplace else to sell their wares. And Venezuela's ripe for a war. I don't think Greenland would be much of a war. But Greenland isn't about a war. It's about lithium and minerals. But that's the reason they say they're going for Greenland, but it's not really. Trump wants to shut down NATO. And they've already threatened if we go into Greenland, they're going to do away with NATO. So, it's motivation. Motive. And that's all he cares about. He's always tried to shut down NATO, always criticized NATO, because he's a Putin puppet. He's a Putin puppet. He's very good friends with Putin. He's very good friends with Putin. He does what Putin wants. He's afraid of Putin because Putin will kill him in a minute, and he knows it. So, it's just ironic. This government is the worst government in the world. We kill so many people in ways you'll never even ever hear about. Look at the Benghazi, and look at the torture that we did in Iraq. They don't like getting caught. That's why Snowden's hanging out in Russia, because he busted them. They do it in our name for our safety. Well, they ain't making us safe. We can't go anywhere in this world. Most countries we go to, we're hated. We're hated because of what our government does. If you're traveling overseas, I suggest you put a Canadian flag on on your luggage, not an American flag. So, in Canada. Canada's another joke, too. We're not going into Canada. Yeah. Stop being suckers. Read between the lines. Realize the news works for the government. They get their stories from the government. So they lie to you every day on the news. This Epstein thing is we're watching a live cover-up of Epstein and Trump. Trump's in those Epstein files more than anybody. Man. He wanted those files released. They're all redacted. And he won't answer any questions about the files. So, let him take the stand with the Clintons. But that won't happen, will it? So, it's not about the truth. It's about the lie they can get away with. Like the lie with 2008. They raised your taxes. That's what it was all about. Raising your taxes. Now you have an $800,000 house that ain't worth $200,000. But because you paid $800,000 for it, you're not going to walk away from it for $200,000. So you're stuck with it. So, good luck. I'm in government housing. I don't pay anything for rent. I don't work because I'm stupid, right?